Welcome to Micro-fulfilment and Warehousing online event by The Logistics Point. My name is Nick Bougilouf and I'm the editor of The Logistics Point. Thank you very much for joining us today. In the next hour and a half, we will be talking about not only micro-fulfillment, but also retail, micro-hubs, as well as how technology can help you with your fulfillment. Before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who is taking part in today's event, and special thanks go to Parcelly, who are the sponsor of this event. You will be able to learn more about Parcelly and micro-hubs in general from their CEO and founder, Sebastian, in just a few moments. Hi, thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Nick. Good morning, everybody. Good to be here. Well, thank you very much, Nick. I started, obviously, the conference with a comment on future outlook, and the presentation today wants to give you further detail about that at a later stage. What I would love to focus on right now is to look into what and how many of the current e-commerce logistics challenges can be answered in this kind of post-pandemic world. It can be answered with the micro hubs and the overall evolvement we have seen in local distribution over the last few years. The structure of the presentation today is around giving you a quick summary of the challenges we have identified that have an immediate impact on everything fulfillment and distribution, the changing warehousing environment overall. Then we want to dive deeper into what benefits micro-hubs offer. Some of them quite evident and clear, but others maybe more newer. And we will not try to look too much into automation, robotics in that space. It's literally more the micro-hub as a hyper-local fulfillment center overall. Then we can, of course, look into a hands-on, tangible case study with the Parcelly's micro-hub technology overall, something that is obviously not just operational in the UK, but also abroad. And then we will try to wrap in some future outlook and put potential opportunities within that micro-hub space and finalize with a little bit of a Q&A and the opportunity to ask questions. So with that, maybe a first glimpse of the current challenges. We are looking into specific areas that you're all well aware of. It is the parcel volume that has exponentially grown. In 2021, retail e-commerce sales amounted to approximately $4.9 trillion worldwide. These figures are forecasted to grow by over 50% over the next 4 years, reaching more than $2.5 to $8 trillion by 2025. These are statistical numbers. So the volume increase is most certainly one of the major challenges. More traffic, more space requirements with it, etc. This space requirement is a specific one, as currently there are only 18.1 trillion square foot available of industrial space purpose-built for supply chains and so on. For a major reason why there's a clear visibility already that brands operating online usually have limited available storage space generally, and now have even more further obstacles with this in-store with overall strategies, and need therefore to adapt to additional distribution strategies just to fulfill the space requirements they are challenged with. The most important piece, though, in this kind of delivery space is the last mile, with not just a increase of parcel volume, but also consumer expectations changing. We are continuing to see that the majority of the total costs of shipping, 53% to be more precise, is somehow related to that last mile piece. So whether it is a consumer collecting from store or actually shipping taking place, this kind of last mile element becomes incredibly important to fulfill consumer expectations the need for convenience and speed. And then last but not least, congestion is a massive topic. It is no surprise that that vans contribute to up to 15% of road traffic today, and carry though a third of the nitrogen oxide emissions from road transport. But the important thing is, if you're looking at the UK, that there are now approximately 3.7 to 4 million white vans on UK roads, with around 150,000 of these involved in delivering online orders to customers. So a number of areas that are important. The fact that fulfillment centers and distribution centers to date are still not necessarily always as close to the customer as they could potentially be, and we are looking into the micro-hub setup later on, is obviously a main driver that there is still a lot of congestion associated with e-commerce delivery. That brings us to the next slide. Yeah, thank you. So if we are looking at the warehousing environment today, still for many of retailers operating, what is very clear is that warehouses within existing retail distribution networks are often ill-suited to the requirements for that kind of speed and convenience demanded by consumers today. For a start, the buildings are not necessarily in the right place, and we try to capture this with the top picture, or don't have the right size. With that, the rise of alternative delivery solutions has been in full swing for years now, but has been further accelerated over the COVID pandemic. We are looking that this kind of the more significant change will continue to be the rise of in demand for smaller urban warehouses close to major cities and urban centers. What necessarily means that retailers will need to undertake rigorous optimization in many ways, define processes and determine the location of the warehouse in their network. However, in many cases, it is a continued challenge to make use of such warehouses in the most efficient manner, because by definition, being close to the customer means that it requires a sensible amount of technology to measure stock levels, organize replenishments, and so on and so forth. So the micro-hub being one solution, but with that, of course, retailers have taken things into their own hands, and particularly those with brick and mortar footprint are in the position to offer alternative delivery methods. Buy online, pick up in store, for example, BOPIS, ship from store, etc. We are also seeing, of course, with the incredible rise in on-demand grocery deliveries, a utilization of this kind of hyperlocal space for on-demand storage. So if we're looking into the benefits of micro-hubs, there are multiple angles to look at. First of all, that the warehousing environment has shifted. This is something we have clearly identified and can monitor over the last few years massively, and continues. The growing need and the efficiency is key, not only for those retailers, but also for consumers, picking up and having the alternative of a flexible range of delivery options. The purpose-built distribution centers statistically will not be growing at the same pace going forward. There is though, and this is the important part, there is this kind of additional need for additional warehouse space, 330 million square feet of additional warehousing space monitored by McKinsey will be required by 2025. The important piece here being, and the question mark at the same time, how much of this will be capitalized or provided by micro-hubs going forward. The buy online, pick up in store solution we mentioned earlier is obviously like an interesting one because it has seen huge consumer adaptation. 56% of online shoppers in the UK will continue, or mentioned according to research, will continue utilizing COVID even after the pandemic, etc. That said, the main challenge continues to be that all micro-hub solutions appear to be somehow related to physical settings and installations that require investment. So a major obstacle of micro-hubs seems to be the kind of investment that needs to be made towards a purpose-built or a hyper-local infrastructure in access space when it comes to many of the solutions you see here on the images, whether it's a high street store converted into a micro-hub or a parcel locker installed in prime retail space, there is typically always some investment required with it. However, that this investment is offset with a number of those benefits you can read on the slide. The operational and cost efficiencies, obviously, just allowing this kind of instant fulfillment with delivery methods that might consume much less resources and setup. The overall aspect of enabling sustainable delivery methods, given the proximity to the customer, cargo bikes and bicycles can be utilized as opposed to white vans we mentioned earlier in the environmental statistics. And with that, obviously, a immediate impact on sustainability, reducing the number of journeys that are for which a van is required. One important piece here being that we cannot obviously like look into all different aspects and benefits, but there are also like lighter touch aspects that have an immediate effect on costs. Micro-hubs are more flexible in terms of leasing, normally provide a better distribution fit, etc., etc. All obviously underlined by the fact that the right technology needs to be in place. And with that, we come to a case study. The Parcelly solution as a whole was born back in 2014 on the idea that we would convert, as opposed to setting up purpose-built distribution facilities, that we would utilize access space in high street real estate for all sorts of different retail and logistics services. We have been continuing to activating this kind of space, not just for online retailers and logistics, but also for consumers, with a clear focus since the pandemic on B2B customers. The important piece here being that a micro-hub not just fulfills this kind of first or last mile space, not just what a typical warehouse would do, but that technology-enabled Parcelly locations enable a broad range and ever evolving range of services, including click and collect on the last mile, but then also this hyperlocal fulfillment and warehousing we mentioned earlier on slides that is increasingly important for retailers getting closer to their customers, and then bundled up with consumer expectations and the need for convenience, everything around returns. A hub can also be utilized for drop-offs, return consolidation, etc., etc. Perfect. So this slide really just summarizing the benefits, or respectively the structure overall. We as mentioned, set up micro-hubs in access locations in local high streets. We are optimizing the model in many ways, given that it is not a purpose-built infrastructure and therefore incredibly lean, cost efficient, and can be relocated and set up instantly almost where consumers really generate demand for a specific retailer. A hub infrastructure in so-called demand pockets, which is a fairly unique setting for retailers and allows them to adapt to seasonality over Christmas, for example, but also for changing SKU requirements or flash sale or promotional items that just require promotion in a specific postcode for a specific period of time. The important thing is that it is complementary to all infrastructure a retailer or logistics company might already have. We are carrier, or the solution is carrier and retailer agnostic, and as such, infrastructure that is already in place can be plugged and played basically into this model. So how can we look into the future? The micro-hub offering the proximity to the customer, facilitating the management of the ever-growing parcel volume is obviously only one of many benefits we have mentioned over the last few slides. The reality is that in a world where congestion zones, low emission zones will grow, and urban areas cleared from petrol engined vehicles over time, we see the rise of electrical vehicles within logistics, of course, the utilization of alternative delivery methods, including bicycles and cargo bikes. It is very clear that the utilization or the opportunity utilizing micro-hubs has by far not yet reached its level of innovation. The reality is that we have identified already many opportunities, some of which are listed here, that could be part of what a micro-hub optimized towards logistics and e-commerce use offers going forward. We have already at Parcelly been experimenting with utilizing the locations as well for cross-docking, the trunking of larger assignments to a Parcelly location, and from there to break it down into smaller consignments that are fulfilled last mile with an on-demand courier or bicycle. The same return-wise, consolidating return shipments and then collecting palletized goods back and return them to the retailer's warehouse. So the cross-docking opportunity is fascinating, particularly if you consider the setup of Parcelly locations or micro-hubs on the edge of a ultra-low emission zone. On top of that, there's obviously everything around the servicing and maintenance of this kind of ever-growing EV and alternative delivery fleet. The charging of batteries, etc., from a hub location seems to be a kind of fantastic way of optimizing the overall delivery speed, exchange and maintenance of cargo bikes powered by electrical batteries. And then last but not least, getting creative, trying to look into what the e-commerce fulfillment methods and automation might look like in 10 years from now. The hub also offers a broad range of services towards potential drone delivery and other functionalities, not necessarily in urban areas, but if we are looking rural, there is most certainly the opportunity to utilize hubs for services that are very much in the analyzed in the context of 21st century delivery methods in a decade from now. From a sustainability perspective, and I think this is what we try to summarize on that slide, is it is all about it's not just all about looking at optimization from an operation and cost perspective, but also looking at the positive impact micro-hubs can have on the overall supply chain, both in and outbound, last and first mile. The utilization of clean delivery methods is a upfront element that makes the setting up of ultra low or highly sustainable, ultra low emission or highly sustainable delivery methods in cities capable or realizable almost instantly. The platform we are operating facilitates today already green delivery method trials in multiple different cities in the UK and abroad. The benefit of it being that a micro hub, if carrier agnostic, the way our structure, our platform is structured, that a micro hub can really leverage this kind of future delivery outlook. We have, on top of that, of course, the immediate impact on congestion, not just from an emission perspective, but also just looking at road traffic overall, the numbers of vehicles on the road, with bicycles and cargo bikes, of course, filtering much easier through inner city roads than the queue of white vans. With a clear view on reduced failed deliveries, micro hubs utilized by carriers in the Parcelly context, as well as leave safe options. So whenever a home delivery fails, allows to literally put the number of failed deliveries to 0. It is either home delivered or left at a safe place, a micro hub close by, which allows retailers to offer an impeccable consumer experience, a consumer to have the good feeling of no further requirement to redeliver a parcel, and of course just the sheer fact that the number of failed deliveries can also be can have an incredible impact on the bottom line of a carrier from a cost efficiency perspective. And then last but not least, the social impact. By means of utilizing excess space in existing commercial real estate, as opposed to setting up physical space, we have mentioned and showed you images of micro hubs that are purpose-built, or locker walls that are put into prime retail space. The social impact of utilizing excess space is incredible. The high street of today and tomorrow will be impacted by the fact that consumer demands have changed fundamentally since the pandemic, or accelerated through the pandemic, and that the fact that we can leverage with technology those businesses that can generate an additional income by utilizing some of their excess space for the use of e-commerce and logistics fulfillment is a fascinating thought that has already, in the case of Parcelly, shown incredible benefits to local retailers. So the overall opportunity is to make micro hubs incredibly advanced when it comes to sustainability, not just sustainability from an environmental perspective, but also from a social impact perspective, and therefore long-lasting and standing. Yeah, not much more to summarize about us. I think from a case study perspective, I have mentioned the benefits, the opportunity of a micro hub operated with our technology platform is beyond the typical last mile delivery, click and collect, or first mile hyperlocal fulfillment. It is can be utilized by retailers and carriers in a plug and play, instantly integratable version, and then offers basically a broad range of modules that can be activated as and when required. Well, thank you very much. That was my presentation today. My name is Sebastian Steinhauser, and you can obviously, and I would be delighted to take your questions and contact on LinkedIn.
Sebastian, thank you very much. And there are a few comments and questions as well, and I wanted to bring a few of them up. So one of them is specifically about what do you see as potential impact of micro hubs on the challenges of the last mile, potentially reduced consolidation, smaller capacity vehicles, etc.
So when it comes to last mile, I think there are multiple areas that are super exciting, and some of which are already areas we have tapped into in our partnerships with major carriers and courier companies. The main last mile element that I always love to highlight is that consumers will have a ever broader need for a broad range of delivery methods. A consumer doesn't want to have just one very convenient or very efficient delivery method. So it's not that we are looking for this one solution that fits all consumers. It is to have a range and as many different delivery methods as possible. That's the first last mile fundamental of providing excellent consumer experience at checkout. And with that, looking at the micro hub, looking at the micro hub, just to answer the question, the micro hub has a fantastic opportunity to or provides a fantastic opportunity to offer with one setup a broad range of last mile delivery solutions. It is the click and collect part where you can have the parcel delivered directly to a hub and collected from there. You can utilize the micro hub for leave safe, as mentioned earlier, home delivery chosen by the consumer, but customer not there, shipment carded, goes not back to the warehouse, but instead is left with a micro hub and can be collected from there, etc., etc. Return drop off location, return consolidation. It becomes a fascinating solution to a broad range of challenges when it comes to the last mile.
Another thing which is quite London specific is how distributed, as far as you know, are micro hubs around London, and how do you see the potential of established logistics firms to collaborate with you in present and future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just very London specific, but most certainly also similar to many other large and mid-sized cities, is the fact that high streets are changing. They have been changing for years. The change has been accelerated through the pandemic. And the reality is that in London, we have thousands of businesses on local high streets that do not operate at the perfect or pre-COVID cost efficiency levels, meaning they are requesting opportunities to generate further income. So why not tapping into this kind of almost unlimited source, activating it with smart technology, and then utilizing retail businesses as a fulfillment or e-commerce platform for both retailers and carriers and a broad range of services. So in London, just to answer the essence of the question, how many are there? We're talking in the thousands of hubs that are already live within the M25. On our platform alone, we have around 800 locations that are operating basically at what you have seen, the service levels, and this is ever growing because businesses inquire on an inbound basis to us quite frequently and daily to our customers service center about the opportunities to generate further income by offering a service that leverages this kind of e-commerce wave that is ever growing.
Just as a side note, before I bring the next question on, that we will be talking with Mango Logistics in about half an hour, specifically because they also, as a logistics companies, work on micro hubs. So this will also be answered as a question from a different point of view. But the next one is, are your operations fully manual, and are you considering integrating automation and robotics? And so, basically, what is your opinion on the robotics around micro hubs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I would distinguish between environments in which we're operating micro hub technology. The area I tried to focus in our presentation today, which is also the space we are utilizing and leveraging on as Parcelly, to 95% of those spaces are not purpose-built, but instead retail businesses that have available space or access space that is underutilized, and activate that space through our mobile technology as fulfillment space offered to retailers and carriers. This environment is not optimized towards logistics, as in there are features a local retailer, a convenience or a store or a supermarket has that are very similar to what we know from warehousing environments, meaning a loading bay, a secure storage space, staff only access to specific areas of the warehouse or storage space, staffed on-site support at all times, etc., CCTV footage, business insurance, and so on. However, moving this kind of space into the world of automation, there are limitations. If we're then looking at this kind of second warehouse space, the one that is purpose-built, optimized towards e-commerce or logistics fulfillment, yes, putting all those innovative robotics and automation technologies in there is a question of time and money, and investment muscle that to achieve that. The reality is, I believe it will be a combination of both. It will be we will not see purpose-built warehouses disappearing over the next decade. They actually fulfill a fantastic opportunity, particularly when we talk robotics and automation, but also replenishing micro hubs in urban areas. But it will be a combination of both, in close collaboration, larger purpose-built, fully automated and optimized warehouse infrastructures will supply and replenish micro hubs in urban areas from where you have this kind of last few miles already achieved towards the customer, where the final bit is fulfilled with a delivery method that is appropriate and adapted to the environment. Just to the last point on this question, do we operate manual? No, we don't. It is the manual aspect is, of course, that staff manually moves goods from A to B inside the micro hub, but the rest is automated with technology on site.
Next thing again is how the micro hub can have an impact when urban hubs seem more suited to the last mile delivery, and this is in a way, or at least in the cities, it seems in a way connected to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. The micro hub. I mean, first of all, I tried not to make too much of a differentiation between the micro and the urban hub. We are differentiating more between the purpose-built DC or infrastructure outside the city, and then the storage capability in a city, the urban hub or micro hub. The combination of both is, I believe, what I tried to answer with previous question already, is that the right way forward appears to be a combination. And when we see how micro hubs, how our network of today, around 2,500 locations in the UK and abroad, is utilized, it is this very combination, utilizing purpose-built larger infrastructures to replenish micro hubs, and from there fulfill last mile, respectively activate on-demand delivery methods and all sorts of green delivery methods we mentioned earlier.
And also,
I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, which I think is quite important in terms around social, because you were talking about social impact and what the kind of environmental but also social risk that you face when you're not necessarily face, but you confront when you're trying to implement it.
Well, from an environmental perspective, the impact of a micro hub is almost instant. Cutting down on failed deliveries, cutting down on delivery attempts, because you can now basically cut every carded delivery or push every carded delivery into a location close by. Cutting down on the delivery destinations, as in a hub can take a bulk delivery, fulfilling basically shipments and orders for an entire street. And then all this bundled up with the effect that because of the proximity to the consumer, things can be done by foot or or standard bicycle courier. So it is it has an instant environmental impact. We are trying to calculate always on a on an annual basis. On top of that, there is this kind of social impact, utilizing locations that are already available instead of replacing retail outlets with micro hubs. We believe in the combination of both. There is a vast commercial real estate opportunity that online retail and logistics have not yet tapped into, and our platform is skewed towards resolving that challenge.